On a warm summer morning, the barnyard buzzed with life. Hens clucked, pigs snorted, and cows mooed. In a cozy nest near the duck pond, a mother duck watched her eggs with joy. All had hatched except one, a large grayish-blue egg. The other ducklings waddled around, fluffy and yellow. "That one's taking its time," the mother said. Finally, with a crack and a wiggle, the last egg opened. Out came a big, gray duckling with droopy wings and wide eyes. The animals stared. "That one's ugly," clucked a hen. The duckling lowered his head, heart sinking. The other ducklings laughed at their gray sibling. "You're not like us," they quacked. The mother duck, though kind, couldn't stop the teasing. The barnyard animals joined in. The rooster crowed, "He's not one of ours." The ugly duckling hid behind the reeds. He didn't understand why he looked so different. Every reflection in the pond made him sadder. "Why am I so strange?" he whispered. Days passed with more pecks and insults. Finally, he decided to leave. "Maybe I'll find someone like me out there," he thought, as he slipped away through the fence, unnoticed and unloved. The duckling wandered through tall grass and quiet fields. Butterflies danced above him, and frogs croaked nearby. For the first time, he felt a small taste of freedom, though his heart remained heavy. He passed by a stream and saw his reflection again, still the same awkward figure. A group of wild ducks flew overhead. He called to them, but they ignored him. He trudged along, tired and hungry. That night, he curled under a bush, shivering as cold wind swept through the trees. He missed the warmth of the nest, but more than that, he longed for belonging. Next morning, the duckling stumbled upon a crooked little cottage. Smoke puffed from the chimney. An old woman with a crooked back and sharp eyes spotted him. "Aha! A duck! You'll lay eggs," she said, scooping him up. Inside, he met her cat and hen. The cat hissed, and the hen puffed her feathers. They teased him for being different. "You don't meow or cluck right," they said. The duckling tried to fit in but failed again. One day, he looked out the window at the sky. "I want to fly far away," he sighed, dreaming of freedom. The duckling escaped the cottage and ran through fields, feeling the wind in his feathers. Though still awkward, he felt stronger. Birds chirped above, and deer watched curiously. He reached a riverbank where geese swam peacefully. He approached them, hopeful. "Who are you?" they asked. "I don't know," he replied. Just then, hunters arrived, firing shots. The geese scattered. The duckling hid in the reeds, heart pounding. He stayed there for hours, afraid to move. "Why is the world so harsh?" he wondered. As the sun set, he moved on again, alone under the orange and pink sky. One frigid night, the duckling collapsed into a drift of snow. A kind-hearted farmer spotted him and gently scooped him up. "You poor little fellow," he murmured, wrapping him in a thick scarf and carrying him home. Inside, the fire crackled warmly. The duckling, now larger though still awkward, nestled near the hearth. Curious children gathered around, marveling at the strange bird. When they tried to pet him, he panicked and flailed, knocking over a mug. The startled children shrieked, and the farmer, concerned, set him gently outside. Though the world was cold, he was free to keep moving forward. The duckling walked through thick snow, past sleeping trees and silent fields. His webbed feet ached. He found a frozen pond and slid across it, slipping and tumbling. He didn't mind. It made him laugh. "I may be ugly, but I can have fun," he thought. He made a snow nest under a bush and waited out the storms. Hunger gnawed at him, but he found strength in his dreams, dreams of belonging, of beauty, of soaring skies. Winter dragged on, but he endured, stronger than before. "Spring will come," he whispered each night, watching the stars twinkle through the frosty branches. At last the snow melted. Grass peeked through the ground, and crocuses bloomed. Birds returned, chirping cheerfully. The duckling, now tall and feathered, blinked in the sunlight. His wings were broader, his feathers smoother. He bathed in the pond, feeling refreshed. One day, he saw a group of majestic white birds glide across the sky. They were swans, their necks curved gracefully. He watched, enchanted. They landed in the nearby lake. Drawn by something deep inside, he walked toward them. "They're so beautiful," he whispered, "but I shouldn't go near. I'm still ugly." He turned away, heart aching with admiration. Thirsty, the duckling stepped up to the lake and dipped his beak. The water rippled. He glanced down and gasped. Staring back was not the gray, awkward duckling he remembered. It was a tall, elegant bird with snowy feathers and a long, graceful neck. "Who is that?" he asked aloud. He turned and saw the swans gliding toward him. "Come with us," one called gently. Confused, he stepped back. "But I'm not one of you," he said. "Look again," the swan replied. He looked down once more. It was true. He had become one of them. Tears welled up in his eyes. The swans circled him, wings spread in welcome. They bowed their heads, acknowledging him as one of their own. The duckling, no longer a duckling, spread his wings and felt them lift with surprising strength. He joined them on the water, moving gracefully. Birds in the trees sang at the sight. Even the fish jumped in celebration. The wind carried his joy across the lake. "I'm not ugly," he realized. "I was just waiting to become who I was meant to be." Surrounded by his new family, he felt love, acceptance, and pride. His heart soared as high as his wings would soon fly. As the sun rose, the swans took to the sky. The young swan hesitated, then flapped his wings. With one powerful leap, he joined them. Wind rushed past, thrilling and cold. The world below grew small. Trees became tiny specks, rivers twisted like ribbons. He flew in formation, part of a beautiful V soaring across blue skies. His wings ached, but he felt alive. The older swans called out, guiding him. He followed their lead, finally knowing what it meant to belong. For the first time in his life, he wasn't running or hiding. He was flying forward into his future. The flock descended onto a lake surrounded by blooming cherry trees. The young swan landed smoothly, his feet skimming the water. Nearby villagers gathered, pointing in awe. Children gasped, "Look at that one. He's the most beautiful." The young swan blushed and used to praise. He waddled ashore, still remembering his awkward duckling days. But now his steps were confident. A girl offered him seeds. He bowed gracefully, accepting them. In the past, he'd been chased away. Now he was welcomed. The villagers admired his feathers, unaware of his journey. The young swan had found his place, both on land and in hearts. Curious, the swan flew back to the barnyard where his story began. The animals hardly recognized him. The same hens that once mocked him now clucked in admiration. "Who is that fine bird?" they whispered. He spotted the old mother duck. She blinked and waddled over. "Is it you?" she asked. The swan nodded. She smiled. "I always knew there was something special about you." The other animals apologized, embarrassed by their past cruelty. The swan didn't scold or gloat. He just said, "It's okay. I found where I belong." And with that, he flew off, serene and forgiving. Back with the swans, the young one shared his tale. The others listened, moved by his courage. "You were never ugly," said an elder swan. "You were just growing into greatness." The young swan nodded. "Everyone mocked me, but I kept going. I hoped one day I'd find my place." His story spread across lakes and rivers, inspiring other birds. Some who felt out of place found hope in his words. He became a symbol, not of beauty, but of becoming. He understood now. Sometimes, the journey makes you stronger than beauty ever could. And he was proud of that. Among the swans was a young female who had also felt different once. She approached him shyly. "Your story is like mine," she said. They swam together, sharing laughter and secrets. He felt comfort in her presence, a bond beyond feathers. Together, they explored lakes, danced on water, and rested beneath willows. Friendship bloomed, and perhaps something more. No longer alone, he cherished each day. He'd once longed just to belong, but now he found companionship too. Their hearts beat in rhythm, wings brushing as they glided side by side. In her eyes, he saw not his past, but a bright future. Spring returned with fresh blossoms and chirping chicks. The swan pair built a nest among reeds, weaving grasses with care. He had never imagined having a family. Each twig felt like a triumph. Soon, eggs filled their nest. He watched them daily, remembering the nest he was born in. "Will they be like me?" he wondered. She nuzzled him, whispering, "They'll be loved no matter what." His heart swelled. This nest wasn't just a home, It was proof of transformation, of hope realized. Around them, nature thrived. Life had come full circle. He was no longer the ugly duckling. He was a father. One morning, the eggs cracked open. Tiny swanlings peeked out, their downy feathers soft and warm. The young swan, now a proud parent, watched in awe. "They're perfect," he whispered. He nuzzled them gently, marveling at their innocence. His mate cooed beside him. Each moment felt like magic. He taught them to paddle, to splash, to stretch their wings. The lake echoed with their laughter. Other animals visited, sharing in their joy. No one asked about their appearance, only their happiness. He had once hidden from the world, but now he embraced it fully, raising a new generation with love and light. As the cygnets grew, their father taught them more than swimming. He told them his story. "People may not always understand you," he said, "but never doubt your worth." The young ones listened wide-eyed. "What happened next, Dad?" they'd ask. He shared his fears, his dreams, and the kindness that saved him. His story became their bedtime legend. He taught them to help others who felt out of place. "You never know who's becoming a swan," he'd say. In his children, he planted seeds of courage and compassion. His past gave their future strength, and his story became a legacy. The lake hosted a festival celebrating birds of every kind. Owls, robins, peacocks, and parrots gathered in colors and songs. The young swan and his family were honored guests. He wore a wreath of lilies. His children danced in the water. Storytellers recited his journey, and feathers flew in celebration. Music echoed across the sky. The animals cheered not just for his beauty, but for his bravery. "To the one who showed us what true transformation means," cried a goose. The swan bowed, humbled and grateful. That night, under lantern-lit trees, he felt more than joy, he felt complete. Years passed. The swan's children grew and flew on their own. He and his mate watched proudly. Seasons changed, but his heart stayed young. Sometimes he'd visit the barnyard, other times he'd sit by the lake, reflecting. Every ripple reminded him of who he was and who he became. From an outcast to a legend, from tears to triumph, his life was proof that every soul has beauty within. And when he soared into the sky, wings slicing clouds, he left behind more than feathers. He left hope. For every ugly duckling watching the world with wonder, his story would guide them home. Sometimes the world won't see your worth right away, but that doesn't mean it isn't there. Keep growing, keep believing, and one day you'll become everything you were meant to be.